Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an effect similar to this one. Now you can use any sort of object you want, but in this I just use this sort of knife that I found. I thought it looked cool, but you can really use anything you want. So to start off, you're obviously just going to want your video clip in the timeline. Then you're going to go ahead and right click new solid, and you can just leave this as a black solid. Oh, and also you're going to need Element 3D in order to do this. I'm using Element 3D. So effects and presets, Element, and go ahead and drag that on there. And you can just rename this to Element. And so the first thing you're going to do is go down to Custom Layers, Custom Texture Maps, Layer 1, go from none to your footage. So what this is doing is now your object in the 3D space is going to use this footage as the environment for the lighting. We're going to have to set a couple other things later to make that actually work, but of course I'll go over that. So go ahead and close custom layers and enter your scene setup. Now this will show you a new window. It might look overwhelming, but it's not too hard to use. So go ahead and hit import and your model and open that up. Now sometimes models will automatically load in all of the textures, but with the one I'm using, it unfortunately does not, so I'm going to have to go through and manually add all the textures, and I'll go over how to do that as well. So go ahead and select OK. For some reason this is a very small model once it's imported, so I'm going to set the scale to like 7,000 or something. Yeah, that looks better. So now I can actually see it. I have my knife here, and in order to add in the textures, because right now all the textures are just white, go over here to the scene group folder, open up all these textures, and if yours doesn't have textures, then that means you also need to download the texture file from wherever you got it from. I got this from CG Trader, but you can use Sketchfab, TurboSquid, etc., just wherever you want. All of those have free models available. A lot of them are paid, but there are some free ones you can find that are pretty cool. Like this one was free. Okay, so for the textures, I'm going to start off the metal gold. So I'm going to click that, go down here to textures, and you see how it has none set for everything. You're going to go ahead and look at your files and see which one of these textures you have available. If you have all of them available, that'll be the best. For me, I only have diffuse and bump map, so this won't look 100% realistic. The more textures you have, the more realistic and detailed the model will look. But if you have diffuse and bump map, or just a couple of them, it's still okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and click none set, load texture. I'm gonna go over to textures, and since I'm on metal gold diffuse, I'm gonna go ahead and look for that here. And click OK. You can see that loaded it in. So the same thing for the bump map, load texture, and go ahead and find that right here to the normal. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process for all the textures on this model. Okay, so once you have all your textures loaded, your model should be looking nice. And the next thing I'm going to do is to get that environment working. I'm going to go over here to environment and click this little arrow, select my custom layer, this music video. There we go. And you may not notice a big difference here, but click OK. And your model, the lighting should match up with your scene pretty well. Okay, so once you have your 3D model, you're now going to want to track your scene. So we can go ahead and turn that off for now. We'll go over to your tracker, select your clip, and hit track camera. So once you do that, you should see a lot of tracking marks. And if you don't see good tracking marks like this, you can try to increase track point size. And if you still see nothing, then maybe your clip wasn't very good or something like that. But anyway, so you're gonna wanna look, and since I want it to look like the knives are basically floating in the scene, and try to select something that's in the background of the scene, not a subject who's moving around on their own. So this construction machine is a good one. These 3 points seem good to me, so I'm just gonna draw a circle around it. Left click mouse, hold down, draw a circle. Right click, create solid in camera. Then now we have this solid that should be nicely tracked. Here we go, yeah. So we can go ahead and turn that off for now. And when we turn the element 3D layer back on, you can see now it looks like it's floating in the scene. I'm gonna go ahead and drag my element layer to the top. And in case your model is having any like shakiness or it's not looking very good somehow, something that can help is if you go into the track solid position, copy the Z value position, go into element group 1, particle replicator, and the Z position. If you paste that in there, it'll make your model much smaller, but it is now more accurately tracked into the scene. Okay, since the model is really small now, I'm gonna go ahead and open up particle look, and then the particle size. I'm gonna increase this about here. In my scene, I want to have a bunch of knives scattered around the scene. So what I'm gonna do is open up replicator effects and scatter, but also first under particle replicator, you need to increase the particle count. So I'll just turn it up to like 15, I guess, and then increase this. And as you can see, a bunch of knives are suddenly appearing. Turn this up to like 200. Yeah, you can increase all these values, get the look that you want. So this is looking pretty cool, but obviously it's kind of boring. I want all of these to be rotating in their own random ways. And also, I don't like how some of the knives are overlapping, so I'm gonna go ahead and mess with the seed that's right under scatter, not the seed that's down here. That won't, under particle look, no, don't do that one, do the one up here. If you mess with that, see, they're all going crazy, but I'm gonna do this until I find one I like. I think this is a pretty cool dynamic setup here. I'm gonna go with this one for now. We can always go back and change it later. Now to get that rotation, you're gonna wanna go ahead and go to particle rotation, and then rotation random, and increase that. And see them all rotating everywhere, all crazy. Pretty cool. And I wanna have this animating throughout the scene. So go ahead and set that to something random. Scroll to the end of your scene, and then increase that what you feel is correct. Let's go ahead and watch that. And of course, you can continue to adjust it however much you want. So you can mess with the scatter amount. You can actually keyframe the scatter amount. That might look cool. So like first keyframe, have it like 150, and then last keyframe, have it like 200. So that gives it a little bit more dynamic movement. And to make this look a little bit better, you can go down to render settings, all the way down here, then open up ambient occlusion, and then go ahead and enable that. And then turn up the intensity however much you feel. I honestly think turning it up to the max is the best. It gives more detailed shadows. I think that looks nice. Yeah, and that looks pretty cool. In my original video clip, the camera kind of starts to blur out at the end, so I think we can make that like it's focusing on the knives. So I want to actually make that blur more intense, so I'm going to go ahead and add on a lens blur. You can use a fast box blur as well. It's probably faster if you have a crappy computer. Just use that. I'm going to drag on this, my clip. I'm going to go ahead and right here, first keyframe 0, and then by the end of the clip, keyframe this up to like that. And then I like to easy ease those keyframes just because everything looks better easy eased. And then same thing with the knives, camera lens blur on the element layer. And go ahead and have this keyframed up to like 12, just to make it over the top, because I like to do that. And at the end, 0. And then go ahead and easy ease those keyframes as well. And this adds a more dynamic look to the scene. This replicates how a camera's depth of field would work in this scene, and it looks a lot more realistic just with that simple touch. And then also to make it less realistic but more cool, if you're doing a music video or something like that, you can add on glow. So I'm going to use deep glow and add that onto my knives. You can use any type of glow you want, but I always like deep glow. It's my favorite one. But if you don't have that, that's okay. And what I'm going to do is make the exposure like low at the start, 0.7, and then towards the end I'll increase that. And then for even more effects, I'm going to add on S_rays. You need the Sapphire plugin for this as well. I think this just looks cool. You don't have to do any of these effects. This is just some stuff I like. And here's my final shot. Pretty happy with it. I think the track right here is a little bit messed up, but you know, not always going to be a perfect track. Most people won't notice this. If your track's a little bit messed up, what you can do is just add a fake shake to the whole thing, which I'll do right now. So you're going to want to go ahead and pre-compose everything you have, and you can just add on a shake effect. I'm just going to use Sapphire Shake for this. The amplitude lower, give it some tilt. And this changes up the look of the shot a little bit, makes it more, you know, intense looking, and also kind of hides the messed up track right there, which I think is a good thing to do. I think it arguably looks better like this, but it just depends on the style you're going for. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching.